Only the victim is alive and the murderers are not. It's a pity you didn't know when you started your game of murder.
Kia ora koutou katoa, no mai hara mai ki UFC on Sky. Israel Adesanya's title win has been described as the best comeback in UFC history. And if you don't believe me, here are some reactions to the knockout victory felt around the world.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, he let him big right. He stoned him. And he got him. He let him throw that left hand. Izzy shot him. Izzy knocked him out against the fence.
That's it. That's it. He's still out. He's still out cold.
Oh my God. He looked. Oh my God.
Mate. Oh, no, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Whoa. Whoa.
Well, Whānau, joining me now to give us a little bit more insight into that KO victory for Israel Adesanya is his head striking coach, Eugene Bareman. Kia ora, Eugene. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Rev. Good to be here again, and thanks for your support.
No problems. Look, so very exciting. What a whirlwind week, especially for, this result, Israel Adesanya recapturing that middleweight title. Give us your first impressions when you knew he had pulled this off.
When the first right hand landed, I knew that he wasn't going to let him off the hook, because we had talked about that. In the lead up, that if we got the opportunity, we would jump on it and make the most of it. So I knew after the first right hand landed, I knew that we were good.
In terms of the preparations for this fight, Eugene, it felt like, Izzy was making him feel comfortable, but it was kind of like a smokescreen. Was there truth to that? Was there, in preparations for the fight, was there plans to make him feel comfortable so that Izzy could land that too?
The truth is no. That part of it was all Izzy. Our part of it was that it's making Israel feel comfortable to throw in that range, and the range is that middle range when you're kind of in the middle. Our job was to make him feel comfortable there, and as a result of that, he baited Pereira to come forward, and then kind of drew him into the right hand to the exchange. Yeah.
And as expected, Alex Pereira came forward with those leg kicks again. The commentary were making, a lot of comments about, Alex Pereira and nailing those calf kicks. Was that something that was also discussed in preparations as well?
Yeah, look, there was a bit of a fault in our plan there, to be honest. try not to give away too much, but you can see the position that we were in relative to him. We were kind of trying to draw out some of his weapons, and the basis of our game plan was to give Israel more opportunity to take advantage of some of what we thought were Pereira's defensive shortcomings. And to do that, we wanted to give Pereira the opportunity to throw his right side, and particularly his leg kick. Where Pereira's throwing the leg kick is a terrible position to throw a leg kick, in our opinion. What Pereira did was masterful. He he took out the preemptive movement that we expected him to give Israel. Israel couldn't read it, so that part of our plan we weren't able to make the most out of, because Israel just couldn't read when the attack was coming. And then we knew that the failures of that plan is you're right in front of the leg kick, you're right in front of the right hand. So we had a backup plan. So if it had gone to a third round, we would have had to go to that.
Yeah, especially considering how mobile Izzy was in New York. You can imagine he would want to try and shut that mobility down and push him up against the cage. What did you say to Israel at the end of the first round? And was there any direction to pull the trigger in the second? I asked him to have. I was very happy with the first round, and I thought we won the first round. And evidently, if you check the scorecards, we did win the first round on every judge's scorecards. Israel did what we asked him to do, and as if you watch, Israel led a lot more. So he put Pereira on the back foot a lot more. He didn't move nowhere near as much as the first fight. And this is all part of our plan, without getting into specifics of what he was doing when he moved. He was just always present and always engaging Pereira mentally. We felt that Pereira liked to have big breaks in between his attacks, and we kind of played into that in the last fight where we moved a lot, and the moving kind of mitigated a lot of the danger, but it also helped Pereira in a way that we a little bit didn't expect. It gave him a big gap. So what we tried to do is move less, put him under more mental pressure by being right there all the time. And in the first round, I felt it worked. And going into the second round, I didn't ask him to do anything different, because I knew that the strategy that we had was providing him with more opportunities. If you look at the first round, he led a lot more and attacked a lot more, and he fell short quite a few times. But I knew as the fight progressed that those opportunities were still there, that he wouldn't fall short, that those shots would get closer and closer to the target. What was fight week like? I know that you've mentioned on this show before that fight week is actually a little break for you. You don't have to deal with the media and all these sorts of things. But I feel that this time, even over the last 4 months since, 281 in New York, preparation is a bit different. You know, the way to go about this fight was a little bit different.
Yeah, Israel, I felt the mantra of our camp was just focus on the task at hand, but also that aligned with that we knew Israel had to be focused for all 25 minutes of the fight. We knew that what had let us down in 2 previous engagements is a small lapse in concentration and focus. So we needed to fill that gap up. So our mantra was absolute focus for the whole 25 minutes. And on a bigger scale, just focus during the camp over the 10 weeks. And that doubled down that during the fight week. Everything we did was all purposely put in place to lead us to that, funnel us down to that one key moment. So the fight week was, I would say the word to describe the fight week was just super focused and concentrated on that one particular task that we all had in hand. It also helped that it was only Israel for this particular. I think that was the right thing to do for this fight, to only have Israel on the card and put all our absolute attention on that monumental task that we had to get through.
Can you describe what the last 4 months have been within the City Kickboxing camp and the determination that there must have been to get a result? I mean, and this is like best part expectation.
Oh, amazing. The team, and look, I being neglectful of me not to mention that this was our most studied fighter, and as sometimes I think we do too much. I think if there is such a thing, we overstudy, like we go a little bit too deep into the detail, and sometimes we have to remove some of the fog and realize that this is just an athletic contest. But nevertheless, like, the boys went really, really deep, and obviously because of what's on the line, and obviously because we haven't been successful. We've had 3 attempts at trying to beat him, and we haven't been successful. And another thing that I guess that everybody needs to know is, I would say that I wasn't the lead architect in this game planning. I would say I would say Tristram and Mike Angove were the lead architects, and I added my little bits on. And that's just how we do things. Like, I needed to remove my ego. I had tried 3 times, and although a large part of those 3 plans were successful, arguably, they had still failed. So I needed to remove my ego, and I needed to really call upon my other coaches, both Tristram and Mike and Andre and Frank, of course, and be like, man, boys, help me out here. I need some help. I've 3 different goes I've had at this. I need some input. I need something else. And I heavily relied on those guys' knowledge. They were the architects of this destruction, if you like, and I kind of added my 5 cents worth onto that, and fed it to Israel and played my part.
It's a big call. It's a big call for a head coach to make, and you're right. You know, there were 3 attempts unsuccessful, and this one, you know, got the result. What over this, you know, from 281 to 287, what have you learned and taken away as a coach, getting the result in the end?
Look, I've learned that you have to be diligent. You have to believe in yourself. Okay, you have to believe in yourself, and you just can't doubt yourself and your team around you. You have to have absolute confidence in them, and the minute you don't have that confidence, it will weaken the ship. So that's what I took away from it. Like when you face someone 3 times and you lose, I'm human. Israel's human. Of course, we're going to start to think, man, what are we doing wrong? Like I thought we did everything. I thought we turned over every single stone. But then it's just, the lesson is just not to lose hope, and also to like feed off the people around you. And I think that's the overarching lesson for me anyway.
It was a winning formula in the end. So you did something right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Describe the feeling back in the changing sheds, you know, away from the crowd, away from the cameras, away from the commentary, and away from the media, when it was just you and Izzy, and perhaps, you know, some of those architects around you. What was that moment like when you were able to sit down, take stock, and really realize what you had done?
Yeah, to be honest, I already described this in a previous interview, but you have all the elation and the happiness that you have in the ring, but you get this other feeling, and I think it's best described as relief. It's kind of a big weight being lifted off your shoulders, because you don't really get that in the ring and in front of 30,000 people. You don't get a chance to feel that. So when you get into the privacy of a small room and it's just you and people that you know around you, you get all the happiness, but it's coupled with the sense of just relief and the sense of this massive weight that you carried in there off your shoulders. So, and that's a pretty good feeling. It's already a good feeling just being happy and elated by yourself, but when you combine it with that sense of relief, the team just embraces each other, and you just sit there and sometimes a word doesn't have to be spoken, but you just all feel the same thing. And I guess that's the best way for me to describe it. It's a special feeling, and yeah, it's the best. That's why we do it.
Look, even before the fight, everyone's always asking, what's next, what's next, what's next, before, the fight has even happened. But Izzy now does sit in a very interesting place in terms of his direction now. I mean, no one can argue he's got the belt around his waist. How do you move forward with this? Or is it now you just let Izzy kind of simmer for a bit and put your efforts into the other fighters who perhaps have fights coming up?
No, I think I think Israel wants to fight again really quickly. I think he's highly motivated from the events that happened, and I think he just wants to get in there again. There doesn't seem to be anybody there to get in there against. He's been through the division. He's beaten his nemesis. Now's the perfect opportunity for some new blood and some new talent to come through and put their hand up, I think. So I think our eye is on some new blood. I don't know who that's going to be, but someone who hasn't fought, who wants to put their hand up and fight for the most prestigious title in the world.
Congratulations again to you, to Israel, to the City Kickboxing whānau, and I'm sure we'll catch up again soon.
Thanks, Rav. Pleasure. Thank you.
And joining me now in studio, our first guest for the year is UFC Heavyweight Justin Tafa. Kia ora, Justin. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Look, I saw you on social media, wandering around Auckland, doing your thing, touching base with a few media outlets. So I tried my luck, and there you were, responded, and here you are.
Yeah, man, I come here for a little break, and I ended up, trying to use my time wisely, and man, I'm just grateful to be here. I used to watch this when I was a kid, so now I love it.
Awesome. Look, before we get into UFC chat, what's coming up for you, what's coming up for your brother Junior, let's just wind our memories back to Israel Adesanya over the weekend, UFC 287. What, not only a great performance, but an amazing result.
Yeah, definitely. that was, he beat the boogeyman, or his boogeyman, and he carries a lot of weight around this area, especially the, Oceania region, and man, it was just monumental. The biggest victory I've seen in combat history, especially UFC.
There was an interesting kōrero you and I just had off camera about him being the only fighter from Australia and New Zealand on that card and just concentrating on his fight, and how that would feel in the dressing room, just only having to worry about him on the card as opposed to anybody else or any distraction. So tell us a little bit more about that and what that feeling might have been like for him.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that would play a big part, just knowing that the main focus was just on Izzy. It wasn't shared amongst different fighters, and obviously different fighters have different kind of energies and sometimes different results, and that kind of thing could affect you mentally. You can say it doesn't, but if that's your friend and they've lost, man, it would affect you, and especially if it's a teammate. And knowing that he was just the only one in this gym and in this region that was fighting, especially main event, I just think that the sole focus, everyone's energy and everything was all on him, and man, you produced the goods.
How were you feeling? You mentioned you were in a pub watching the event. How were you feeling in lead up to that fight?
Oh man, I was so nervous. I was more nervous than my own fights, man. I was like, damn, I can't believe I even do this myself. And I didn't think I took a breath until he actually, until he got the job done. But I was relieved, but really happy for him and happy for, New Zealand.
Talking about your UFC career, you featured on the Perth card in February, had an amazing knockout win yourself. Have you come down from that win yet?
Yeah. No, I did. Yes, next day I was changing nappies again, so I was brought down to earth straight away. But right after the fight, I went to Bali for 2 weeks, and that really gave me some time to wind down and spend time with my family, because those fight camps can be pretty time consuming. And now I'm ready to go back in there.
What is it looking like for you for the rest of the year, perhaps?
I'm not too sure. I've been trying to fight. I've been knocking on the door, but there's been no answer. So right now, the sole focus is just on my younger brother making his debut and making sure everything's all good. And then once that's over and done with, ask Mick Maynard and the boys there for another fight.
What are your thoughts on the heavyweight division at the moment? Because it is quite interesting. John Jones came back into the mix, grabbed the strap while he was at it. There's a bit of movement. You've got Bam Bam, Taita Tuivasa's up in the mix, and your brother's now debuting in the same division. There's a lot happening in the heavyweight division. Yeah,
no, it's good. Especially with John Jones shaking everything up and letting everything fall into line again. I just feel like it's a good time to start making my run for it. A lot of those guys are very beatable, I think, and they don't share the same power or ferocity like I do. So, and also my brother's jumped in and he's a killer himself. But I think this is his only fight in heavyweight for a long time, and he'll drop down to light heavy because he's usually a natural light heavy. But I hope he stays away from me. But I don't blame him if he does. But the heavyweight division is looking like there's going to be a lot of movement this year. A lot of guys trying to gun for John Jones, and I'm just trying to get my hand into the top 15, top 10, hopefully by the end of the year, and then make that big run.
You mentioned a minute ago that you weren't aware of the fan base that you have here. And I think that comes down to obviously what City Kickboxing is doing here in New Zealand for New Zealand MMA. But of course, there's the likes of you, there's the likes of Ty, your brother. And, even if we think back to Mark Hunt and what he did to pave the way, not only for UFC fighters coming out of Auckland and Australia, but for Pacifica as well. Yeah, sure. And I always love talking to fighters who have had that connection with Mark Hunt, because I don't think he really gets, the kudos that he deserves and how he paved the way. So your thoughts on Mark Hunt and your relationship with him, seeing as he was one of the heavyweight pioneers for Aotearoa? Yeah,
for sure, man. I always give him big reps. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be in the UFC right now. He opened the doors for not just myself, my brother, guys like Bam Bam, Carlos Holberg were all a part of a team that he assembled, and he kind of showed us the ways and how it was really possible to do it, kind of thing. He just mentored us through it, and now we're all on the big stage, and I'm pretty sure he's there, proud of us.
It's amazing to see, this cohort of fighters. And you're right, Mark did assemble I didn't even think of it like that he assembled these fighters. And now here you are. And I kind of feel like, to an extent, you kind of take that torch a little bit, because I see you, mentoring the others as well, like your brother coming through now. Do you kind of see it that way, that he showed you, how to help bring fighters through as well? Yeah, for sure. You really grasp onto, like the idea that if you help others and they get better, they'll better you, because they're the ones keeping you honest. So, the better the fighters that are around you, the more honest you're getting taken, and the more prepared you'll be for those fights. That's the way I see it. Look, Junior mentioned 2 weeks ago when he was on the show that there is another brother. There is another Tafa brother in the wings. Is there a potential for a third brother to be in the UFC in future?
Oh man, definitely. My baby brother, my 6'4" baby brother, he's just buying his time. He's got to see, like Mark's wins and losses and all the experiences that he can gain from that, and then myself, and then also he can see Junior's lessons that will just ultimately make him even a better fighter. And once he's ready, and once we think he's ready, man, why not? Like if we do it, why not him?
Absolutely. How does it differ having like siblings, around you and training and preparing? Because we see a lot of fighters, like how we talk about Mark assembling, this group of fighters, but how is it different when they're your brothers, when they're your blood relatives?
It's good because you don't have guys that are just agreeing with everything you say and just for the sake of it. Like, yes, people that whatever you say, they'll be like, yeah. Man, they keep me honest, and even when I think I'm confident, they'll just bring me back down to earth, just in the straight away. And I think that's the beauty of it is you just get honest chats, and it's not coming from a place of negativity. It's just a place of growth, and those talks are like this. What I think has been the formula, like that's been the real reason why we've been successful. It's been something that's always been addressed, and nothing that's had to been built up, and everyone's like, oh, there's an elephant in the room kind of thing. Man, it gets addressed straight away, like, hey, your jab's lazy, or your defense is bad, or we need to do more groundwork. And yeah, it's just a real blessing.
This weekend, the spotlight is shining back on the featherweights. UFC Fight Night will feature Arnold Allen taking on the former champion Max Holloway on Sunday, so don't miss that. Also, keep your eyes peeled for UFC 288 for all the booking details. Henry Cejudo is back, and he is taking on the bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling. For us this week, though, whānau, mā te wā.